So it's talking here about the manufacture of polyester and other synthetics. Synthetic means not natural. So that's another word that we can use there. Synthetic. Okay, so let's continue here. I missed something here. Myra Diaz. You see Myra Diaz? And that's from page 82. Myra Diaz. Our gender has an influence on our increased desire to shop. I think that's what it's talking about. Girls, especially, are insatiable when it comes to fashion. They have to have the latest thing, says Myra Diaz, mother of a 10-year-old girl. So that there is the answer for number 4, A. That's the answer. Number 4. Okay, so let's continue here. Man-made fabrics. So cotton, yes, we know most clothing is made of cotton, and it has a significant environmental footprint. Cotton, yeah, it's true. Quarter of all. So they use pesticides on cotton. Wow. It's exported to China and other countries with low labor costs. We know about that. So it does talk about increased use of chemicals there, right? Excuse me. Quarter of all pesticides used in the United States. Yes. Energy intensive and requiring large amounts of crude oil. Respiratory. Oh, aggravate respiratory disease. Oh, respiratory disease. Maybe this is where the coronavirus came from. It says processing synthetic polyester and other synthetic fabrics is an energy intensive process requiring large amounts of crude oil and releasing emissions which can cause or aggravate respiratory disease. And then over here, pesticide use. So I'm thinking so far I see increased health problems, increased use of chemicals. Reduce wages for workers. Let's see what else it says here. Low labor costs, so reduce. In China, the equivalent of 4 pieces of clothing for every U.S. citizen. So Pietro Rivoli is next here. Not really sure about, I'm just looking about labor costs. Produced, exported to China and other countries with low labor costs. So it could be D. let's leave that for a second. But I definitely think question 6 and 8 is over here. Respiratory disease. Pesticide use. Considers many textile manufacturing facilities to be hazardous waste generators. Yeah. G is it here. Hazardous waste generators. So unwanted dangerous materials. That is hazardous. Which is over here. That's what it was talking about. Textile manufacturing. So that one is 6, 7. I don't know why I put 8 over there. 6, 7, 8. I'm not sure. 6, 7, and 8. So 6, 7, 8. Okay. So it's just not in order. 6. You can go to any order. So going over here, Pietro Rivoli says Americans purchase approximately 1 billion garments, pieces of clothing made in China. The equivalent of 4 pieces of clothing for every U.S. citizen. Wow, that's a lot. Which one is that one? Not recycled, not Tanzania. Didn't see it clearly. One spot. Okay, so I see here that it's now talking about stockpiling. Keeping so much closed. Oakding Hollands, the report calls to represent. So eventually enter the solid waste stream. Throw away 68 pounds of clothing textiles. So Oakding Collins, is she here? I think so. Right. It's talking about 5 here. It says we produce so much waste from clothing. Okay. That one is C. Question 5, right over here. Okay. Oh, I'll just put it. Starts over there. 5. Oakding Hollands. Okay. Oh, there's another one. What percentage of garbage is made up of clothes? It's 21% of annual clothing purchases, but where's the garbage? So according to Americans throw away 68 pounds, 4% of the municipal solid waste. There we go, 4%. So 4% of the waste is from clothing. That was question 10. So we're going to put 4%. We can just put it like this. We can put a symbol if it means that number. Okay. Back here. Susan Strasser. What does she say? Progressive obsolescence. So like it's obsolete. We don't need it anymore. Most clothing was repaired. So it says before 1920, most clothing was repaired or fixed, mended or tailored. If it was ripped, you fixed it. 1920s. So during that war, used conservation campaign, use slogans that just make economy fashionable, less to become obligatory. So 10% reduction in waste. When it says here, in what era did Americans stop reusing clothes? The progressive obsolete clothing and other consumers in the 1920s. So before then, before World War One. So, did not last. By the mid-1920s, consumerism was back in style. Okay. So, looks like the answer should be the 1920s. Yeah. Because it's talking about here, it says 1920s obsolescence. Obsolescence or obsolete means not useful anymore. If it's obsolete, it's not, that's the adjective, not useful. So that's just obsolete, L-E-T-E. But obsolescence, the noun, okay? So by the mid-1920s, consumerism was back in style. So 1920s is the era. Well, we can put, trying to see here. For now, I think we can say mid 1920s, like this. That one we should put it just exactly what it says right there. That's what it says. Mid 1920s, you see right there. So Susan Strasser down here, don't really see that one. Let's see. T-shirt travels, yeah, even today. So it says clothing is recycled here. Maybe resold. Oh, really? So I'm just thinking about a change in my helped decrease. So yeah, here it says manufacturers, clothing manufacturers reduce the varieties, sizes, and colors of their productions, and even urge designers to create styles that will use less fabric. Okay. That's what I was thinking. But I'm not really sure. So it kind of relates to Susan's book. So I'm thinking that three is D. 3 is D. So they used less, is what it says there. Okay? Three. Yep. And that one was 11. 11 here. Okay, so we're down here, domestic resale. Right, now we're online. We're online and shopping, especially right now. Rivoli, says Rivoli, there she is again. People in America to absorb the amounts of cast out in the... Says here there's not enough people for the amount that is produced. All right, so there we go. 1 is B. I see it here. Up here, 1. It says, you see, there are nowhere near enough people in America to absorb the mountains of casts off, even if they were given away. Cast off, to cast it off means to throw it away or to give it away. So Rivoli is saying right over here, there's not enough people to give it away to. So there's more clothing than people. So more clothing than demand. Okay. 45% of these textiles continue their life as clothing. It's true. In Japan, it says here in Japan, they're collectible items. It's true. I used to see a lot of places that used to sell t-shirts that were... It was fashionable to get old t-shirts, basically. Tanzania. So it says Tanzania is the number one import from the United States. So that looks like this one here. So 13 is Tanzania. In Southeast Africa, I believe. We missed 12. But let's look here. So right there, Tanzania is 13. Number one import from the United States. Predict a trend toward increasing exports. Okay. Countries like Tanzania will receive even more used clothing from North America in the future. Okay. Rivoli predict the trend toward increasing exports of used clothing to developing countries will continue. So that's Rivoli. So 2 is B. Okay. There's number 2. So it says it will continue. Tanzania will get more in the future because consumerism is high. And then we have here 1. What has caused the sell? Oh, I remember, right. It says the internet or online shopping. People, there's the internet. So it looks like the answer is the internet here for 12. Because it says resale has boomed in the era of the internet. Okay. Very good. Okay, we got them all, right? Yes, there we go. And there we go. So it was those 3 there. Good. Let's go along now to this one, which is a little bit related, actually. It's about, very interesting. I remember this one. About recycling in India. How it's a huge business and some people make a living from it. Some part of this article I find is very depressing. Just how it says here, for example, as a 13-year-old boy, I was surrounded by baby food. No, right here. Rag pickers, middlemen, transporters, and finally reprocessors. The rag pickers are at the bottom. That's what it means. The bottom rung in the waste trade ladder. They're people that go... Have you seen those pictures of people working in the garbage dumps and the landfills? It's very, very sad. It's true. That's what this article is about. Those children, in some cases. Rag pickers. So a rag is like a piece of clothing. Piece of material, basic. Cloth or clothes. And picker. They pick it up. Anyways, so what was the questions here? Questions 14 to 21. Which section contains the information, okay? An account or information about a typical day's work. Typical day's work. Cruelty, very bad. Exploitation, using badly. Remember that I'm just simplifying words for you. So examples of very bad exploitation. Using, well, let's say using something too much. So workers get exploited. They treat workers very badly. An accusation that double standards are operating. So accusation is kind of believing. So when you believe something is true, like you accuse someone, you accuse. Double standards, 2 levels of something. A description of a hierarchical system. So a hierarchical system is It's a hierarchy. It's like top to bottom, basically. Someone's at the top. Top to bottom, we can say. An allegation, suggestion, or idea. Let's say idea. Just idea. That wealthier people are doing what they could. Okay. An assertion, belief that the rich benefit from the hard work of the poor. Always, of course. Summary how business has changed over time. A claim, again, idea that recycling is economically beneficial to the authorities. People in control. So usually like the government. 22 to 26. Paragraph completion. Let's not forget grammar guides. Paragraph completion. 60. Throughout the text or one specific section, not always linear. You should do it sentence by sentence, okay? Keywords, yes. Look at the word before and after. The notion of recycling. So the idea of recycling has changed hugely, greatly. At one time, people, everything from newspapers to household containers, used. Try to guess. Guessing is always a good thing. Now, with this disposable products and plastic packaging, the arrival maybe, people simply throw things away instead of putting them aside for when they need it, let's say, for a time. This system takes care of the whole recycling process nowadays. Rag pickers are at the bottom of a system, with everyone from the various middlemen to the factory owners and their agents looking down. So I was guessing there are some words that could help. Okay, let's see. So, in India, right, recycling. It says bottles were reused until they broke. It says everything was reused before. Sadly dying out, superseded, means passed by the advent of the non-recyclable. This advent of reminds me of what I said earlier. Non-reusables. Now, instead of being stored away for a rainy day, totally sounds like this here. I believe this one here is advent of. Yeah, the advent of it means coming. There's for a rainy day, like I said here. A rainy day. Kind of like an expression. When things are bad, a rainy day like they are now, we should be prepared for these type of rainy days. Not every day is sunny. So what was this? At one time people, I think, reused. I think it's talking about reusing. Yeah, it's talking about reusing, reused. So that was to the point. It says here it says women separated newspapers and sold them. Doesn't mean that the answer is separated, because there's talking about everything was reused. And this we're simply never throwing away. That's what it's talking about there. The advent of the non-recyclable, the non-disposable, was the connection. Okay. Informal. Okay, so I read this. The sector includes rag base, rag pickers at the bottom. Looks like it's pyramid. I see here. Tabletop pyramid. Rag pickers at the base means bottom. Tabletop pyramid is the answer over here. I think if I see correctly, informal sector I see here. Informal sector. All recycling is done by the informal sector. That's crazy. That doesn't happen here in Canada. Nothing is done informally. Not even selling on the street. That's why you can't sell anything on the street here or the police will stop you. I'll say, what are you doing here? Even like I told you, you shouldn't give money to homeless people. You could get a ticket. And homeless people, they can't even be asking for anything. Why? Because everything is formal. Everyone knows that the homeless people, they can go and get some money if they want from the government. They just need to show that they're good. Okay, so 22 to 26 was all right here. 22, so 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 in the beginning. Wow, that's good. So okay, so it talks about everybody involved in this pyramid. I remember a question here as well. 17 is B, okay. Which paragraph? B. Talked about that tabletop pyramid. What else? Maybe A for 20. But I'm not sure. Because in A it talked about how everything was reused. Nothing was thrown away. But now it says carelessly they're put into the dustbin. Modern day recycling. We'll see how it says there. Next. I'm looking at nowadays. It's like this, it says. It says for every 100 residents, so there's 100, one person is in recycling. Wow. It's tough. Okay. Delhi, particularly interesting. Very large populated city. 100,000 waste pickers. Wow. The base of a huge recycling pyramid. No way. That's crazy. So all these materials, plastic, metals, paper, and glass, right? 12,000 US dollars per day. That's what it gives the Delhi municipalities. So it says that a single scrap or piece of material can increase 700% in value before it is even reprocessed. Wow. So that just means that, let's say you start off with that piece being $1. Then by the end of the day, it's $7. Just by, so it means that the rag picker, the one who picks it up from the garbage, they sell it to so rag pickers at the bottom, then they give it to the small middleman, who gives it to the larger middleman, who usually specifies materials, and then the factory owner, and then etc. etc. So it just keeps on going up. And when it reaches the recycling change, it's $7. Crazy. This sounds like Delhi municipality, sounds like the city. Right, so it could be 21, could be C, unless we find something else. So in here, it would be the city. So it says that recycling is economically beneficial for the authorities or the city, Delhi municipalities. I got that one from there. Any others? Because you can use any letter more than once. No, no, no. No. Okay, so let's continue. So who does it benefit? Is it a green business? Okay. Young person or child. There you go. Young person or child. Horrible. Yeah. With a large woven sack. Will begin work at 4 a.m. Wow. All over the town. Late afternoon. When the bag is full. Then they hunt down the middlemen to sell to. Wow. Their waste should be separated according to 30 different categories. It must be clean and dry. Horrible. So it's a child. Obviously, they don't go to school. Or do they? I don't know. Thousands of the poorest inhabitants sort through waste and wash it from makeshift water resource. So they wash it basically in some place where it's not even water. That's why the rivers are so polluted over there. Everything's polluted in India, unfortunately. Okay. The poor undertake what the privileged preach. The privileged, the people that have it. So backache, allergies, respiratory disorders. I think COVID-19 can get there soon. Says that the transaction at the selling point is unjust. It's not fair. A rag picker may be paid less if waste is substandard or wet, if the buyer is temporarily cash strapped. Terrible. Says rag pickers take loans from buyers and soon find themselves working simply to pay back the debt. Horrible situation. How can people be treated in these horrible conditions? And I hope that, I don't know, but it says that the rag pickers, the ones who are doing all the dirty work, dirty, hard work, they get treated horribly by the buyers. They take loans. So for example, oh, today I don't have money to buy a piece of bread. So here's $1, and then they need to work hard to pay that $1. So they work for nothing. It's a very terrible world. So that sounds to me like some answers. 14 for sure. It talks about they wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and then afternoon they do that. Cruelty and specific exploitation, maybe. Maybe 19 as well. It says here the rich benefit from the hard work of the poor. I saw that in here. The poor undertake what the privileged preach. If the privileged had done this themselves, the poor would suffer less from backache. I think so. That's in D as well. But we'll check answers along as we go. And maybe 15, but I don't think there's going to be 3 in there. Let's look at E. Right, and then the rag pickers, they live in slums. Those very, very dirty and just, they look like garbage landfills. Places with very poor housing, sanitation, and it's very terrible. I hope COVID-19 doesn't go there. So, the shop or warehouse of a middleman, or outside in the alleys or footpaths. Terrible. Some sleep in dustbins where the garbage is. Horrible. Access non-existent. They have nothing, basically. The police regularly beat them or burn their bags of waste. Oh my God. Even the police treat them horrible. You know, this is why sometimes it's just so horrible how people are poor enough. They get nothing from the government, or they have a terrible situation. But then even the people that are in control, like the police and the government officials, even they have to be horrible to them. It's just, I think we need to take control of some of these situations, and I hope that Canada can step up. Municipal workers charge workers to be allowed. Wow, even so the city charges money for these poor people to go into the garbage. And says the municipal worker makes them do additional work, sweeping or loading trucks. It is not unknown for the police to pick up wrapper and force them to clean the police station. Oh my God. Right now, I'm going to write a letter to the Indian government because this is horrible. How could they allow this to happen? That definitely is E right here. Cruelty. You see, cruelty and exploitation. Everybody's treating the poor rag pickers like garbage. People aren't garbage. When is this society or our modern society going to understand that people are not garbage? Animals also are not garbage. And I think, and I believe, I'm sorry to say this, but the reason why these kinds of horrible viruses and situations happen, it's because of all the evil and cruelty that exists in the world. We treat animals like garbage, we treat the environment like garbage, and we even treat people like garbage. So, I don't know. I'm saying we, and I think when I say we, I don't want to include myself there, and I don't want to include anybody I know. But I think we need to, us who are not in that category, we need to try to make people change people's views. That's why I try sometimes to change people's views, but it's very hard. Anyways, let's continue with this. Let's see here. So we're done with these ones. Okay. Sadly and shockingly, Oh, there we go. Says the wealthy, they're not doing nothing. So it subsidizes the consumption of various materials by the city's wealthiest citizens. So plastic, subsidizing means helps. Almost 52 are expected to be used in the packaging sector. It will be undertaken in a manner which ensures benefit from the hard work of the poor. Looks like to me looks like this one here is F. So I was mistaken about that one. It looks like it's F because it says the rich benefit, subsidizes, they get something from the work of the poor. Okay. See, they don't care. So in India, the informal has an essential role. Lack of awareness and specific skills were very poor working conditions. Of course, they're in a pile of garbage. So it says cannot. However, although it is critical, especially to handle the solid waste, the sector is unable to optimize its work. Very poor, yeah. The state's attitude towards informal recycling is schizophrenic. Means schizophrenia is a mental problem, so it means it's not good. On the one hand, so it tries to make seminars praising. Says the sector is praised and rag pickers are complimented. Okay, thank you. Why don't you give them some education and some housing? Is ignored by planners and policymakers. So they say they ignore the whole system. So that one is a double standard for sure. So G, so it says they praise the system and then they ignore it. People are not doing what they could. Oh, wealthier people are not doing what they could. I made a mistake, so that one I remember here. The poor undertake what the privileged preach, right? So it says here, the privileged had done this themselves. It means the privileged don't recycle. They don't do anything. Can you believe it? On top of, I just really believe that we need to have one proper government system that can make sure that people are not taken advantage of. D. So it says here basically that in India, the rich people themselves don't recycle. They just throw it all into the garbage. And that's why these rag pickers exist. Horrible. I didn't put any answers here for that, so I'll go through them over one more time after. So that one was here on the one hand. On the other hand, it's ignored. That one was double standards, 16. Let's put it here so we won't get confused. So 16 was there. Okay, so let's review these ones just to make sure. We said this one was 19. This one up here was definitely 15. Horrible. Just horrible. The whole paragraph. Right, maybe paid less. Loans. Well, D, 14 was here. 14. Cruelty and exploitation, we said already. 17. Hierarchy system, I remember that one was here as well. 17. '18 was here. People are not doing what they could. They're not. They're definitely not. We said them already. So this one is in paragraph A, like we said here. Paragraph A. It has changed. Recycling has changed. Okay. And 21. 21 was in C. Yep, I remember that one over here. Okay, there we go. Well, like I told you, this article was very disappointing to read because it talks about consumerism in another way. Where there's production, right? Production. Well, there's people's desire to buy and to get things. Even I'm guilty of this, okay? I was just thinking today that I need a new computer because this one's too slow. But this computer is really nice. So we consume, we produce this garbage. And then because we have all this garbage, there's this group of people that are actually human beings that are born and grow up in garbage, in our garbage. I don't know, it's just really very, very sad to think about. I think that instead of them picking that garbage, maybe the government, here's an idea. Why doesn't the government give them a job instead of them being treated like garbage? I would say, okay, you know what? From now on, I'm going to give you a job. You're going to go and you're going to collect the garbage, the recycling, and you're going to take it over here and you can be a city worker, okay? Wow, was that a really difficult idea for anyone to imagine? And it would only cost like $2 or $3. That's how much money they make. They make $2 or $3, these poor people. Why doesn't the government just give them $2 or $3? You know why? I don't want to say it, but I think it's just a corrupt system. And in some countries where they have this kind of corruption, this is why I think we need to have a proper global government to fix the problem. I would highly recommend any Canadian government. Anyways, very disappointing article. Excuse my expression of my views. Hopefully everybody's staying safe and we'll continue next time. Bye for now.